Welcome in for another episode of NewOrleans.Football. As always, we are presented by PJ's Coffee, the best coffee shop in the land. And also, if you want to go to PJ's, make sure it's in a car from Matt Bowers Auto Group. They have the Ford in Metairie right next to our studio. And then right below us in Metairie, they have the pre-owned automotive center. So make sure you come check them out if you need a ride. Mike, let's get into our first topic presented by Hard High Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. You and Nick released Mock Draft 1.0 yesterday. Some interesting names on there. Some picks, I was like, I've heard them say it, but I didn't know they were going to coalesce to being the actual pick. Just before we get too deep into our first topic, kind of what were some of your thoughts there? Kind of what stood out with that exercise?
Well, yeah, we won't give it all away, but you can tell by the picture and the headline that it starts with a decision on Ashton Genty in the first round. And, Nick's a little more fascinated with him than you or I. He's convinced first, but I don't disagree that we could look back on this draft class, especially this draft class, because there are not a lot of guys that I'm looking at number 9 and thinking, well, this guy's going to be a superstar. Will Campbell is one of the ones that I think could be really, really good in the NFL. But the question about whether he's going to play left tackle or guard in the NFL and how the Saints view him makes him a question mark at number 9, too. There's no surefire receiver. There's no clear defensive end, which is a topic we're going to get into. There's no clear left tackle. There's not a clear cornerback that will for sure go in the top 10, although there's a couple guys that might get there. And then the quarterbacks. Obviously, there's only one quarterback everyone seems to agree on in this draft. So the fact that you're not being like, well, do you want this guy who's going to be an all-pro for 5 years? Do you want this guy who's going to be an all-pro for 5 years? If Genty is the one guy that you think could be a superstar, if you think people are going to talk about this draft class like they talk about Alvin and Christian McCaffrey, or like they talk about, Adrian Peterson, Derrick Henry, et cetera, then it is a different conversation than just how we normally talk about what running backs are worth. So it's a fascinating conversation. And then it didn't get any easier in round 2 because Jackson Dart was sitting there and we had a decision to make there. So, there's addressing needs, or there's, okay, is this player special enough to be an exception?
Yeah, for sure. And you all can check out the entire mock draft on NewOrleans.Football for a subscription, 20% off. Use code NOF off your first purchase. But you talking about filling the needs. There's a lot of needs on this team, and one of the main needs is that edge. Mike, getting into this first question, will the Saints consider all types of edge rushers, like in terms of size, speed, weight, all the whole nine?
I think this is a fascinating and huge question for the Saints this year because, look, I know people are tired of the Saints drafting defensive end. Just last night, I had another person. I just don't want to see them take another defensive lineman because they missed on Marcus Davenport and spent a ton on Marcus Davenport. Kind of missed. It was more the injuries than what he actually did when he was on the field. But they definitely missed on Peyton Turner. My belief is, all right, that's why now that you have the 9th pick in the draft, get a can't-miss defensive end. Get the edge rusher. I always say Myles Garrett. He's like a number 1 pick, not a number 9 pick. But I think this is where the special edge rushers in the NFL come from. You don't often find Trey Hendrickson in the 3rd round. So now that the Saints are in the top 10 for the first time since 2008, I would love them to be like, all right, how about an edge rusher that isn't squint and you might find him. He's just a sure thing. And I don't see one in this year's draft class. Otherwise, that'd be the guy that I'm standing on the table for. Now, the highest rated one outside of Abdul Carter, because I don't think the Saints have any chance of getting near Abdul Carter. So the highest rated one is Jalen Walker from Georgia, who's 6'1", 243. And he's probably going to play off the ball linebacker and then pass rush in pass rush situations. I think you obviously have to run a 3-4. He has to come off the edge as an outside linebacker. Yeah. So I'm curious. Does Brandon Staley in this new 3-4 defense mean guys like Jalen Walker, 6'1", 243, are on the Saints board now? Because for the last 15 years, they haven't been. But it's not just Dennis Allen that felt that way. It was also Sean Payton that felt that way when Dennis Allen wasn't here because Bill Parcells was his mentor. And Jeff Ireland is still the college scouting director and the assistant GM and VP of the Saints.
Right.
And he believes it's a big man's game. And Bill Parcells is his mentor, too. So is Jalen Walker not going to be the guy? I think they'd like the other Georgia defensive end. I just don't know if number 9 is too high for him. So I'm looking at Brandon Staley's history to try to see what that tells us about, you know, does he have a lot of 6'1", 240-pounders in his past? And unfortunately, Brandon Staley's history is full of, superstars that don't tell you anything. He had Khalil Mack with the Bears when he was working under his mentor. Why am I drawn up? Vic Fangio. And then Brandon Staley gets a head coaching job for the Chargers, so he trades for Khalil Mack. And Khalil Mack is 6'3", 269, and he would fit anybody's defense. When they were in Denver together, they had Von Miller, 6'3", 250, but Von Miller would fit anyone's defense. When he was in with the Chargers all those years, he had Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa is actually a bigger guy, even though they played him at outside linebacker. He would fit anyone's defense.
Right.
In Chicago, he had Leonard Floyd. And then had Leonard Floyd again when he was the defensive coordinator with the Rams. We're getting a little bit smaller now, Leonard Floyd, but he's 6'3", 240. So again, I haven't said anybody under 6'3". There's a couple guys I did find his first year with the Chargers. Uchenna Nwosu started at outside linebacker, 6'2", 251. And then Vic Fangio with Philadelphia, who is his mentor, runs that kind of defense. Obviously, they had Nolan Smith with the Eagles this past year. He's 6'2", 238. So I do think it's possible that Brandon Staley could be a guy who could have a vision for someone like this. But it's not like he's made his whole career out of guys like these. So I'm a little torn. I would bet against it. I would, I would love to see the Saints be like, no, we have a vision for this guy. This guy's going to come in here and be our double-digit sack guy. But I'm going to have to see it to believe it.
Yeah, no, for sure, because the DNA of that is let's go for the freak of nature. Let's go for the 6'4" plus. Let's go for the guy who just pops out, just looking at him says, this guy is an edge. This guy is a football player. And you've seen them step up to the plate, swing and miss constantly across the board with that over the last couple of years. So I think exploring all options has to be on the table. And Walker is a good football player. Regardless, he's a good football player. He's a great football player, actually. We'll see how that translates to the NFL. But I wouldn't be mad with Michael Williams. Now, going early for him.
Yeah, that's Michael Williams feels like Saint Central casting, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And he's Georgia, and he's got proven experience. But yeah, I'm just not seeing anybody rank him as a potential top 10 guy. He's more like, will he go in the top 20 or not?
Yeah, no, for sure. It gets into just weird territory because these are bigger school guys, and ultimately, it's all football across the board. But I think the guys who do go to bigger schools playing in SEC, Big Ten kind of football, they're playing against other caliber linemen that are going to be the people you face on Sundays. Of course, there's
you're crossing Houston and San Antonio, the University of Texas San Antonio off your list.
I mean, for sure. We ain't talking about basketball. We're talking about football. So, yeah, that is a factor to me. Not saying that those guys can't do it because they have been. Like, you talk about Khalil Mack. He went to Buffalo. Like, the smaller school, but that's a diamond in the rough. You know what I mean? So, I think.
And again, the Saints' biggest miss of all of them was Notre Dame's all-time sack leader, Isaiah Foskey. So it's about the individual guy. I mean, there's no rules that cover everything. That's for sure.
No, for sure. But can the Brandon Staley defense unlock Chase Young to another level? Really not to another level, kind of to his potential.
I'd love to see that. I'm still fascinated by that.
Right. Can Granderson hit another level? So, yeah, we're looking at the younger guys potentially to get drafted, but also there are guys on this roster that they have invested in that this is a whole new form of defense that they'll be playing. So it's interesting to see kind of how that progression goes. But if you had to, you kind of already gave it, but I want you to go a little bit deeper. On Jalen Walker, do you think if it just came down to it that they would go with another position over him if he was?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, this brings the conversation full circle. So if when Nick and I are doing our first mock draft exercise and he feels strongly about Genty, if 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 Abdul Carter was there, or if Jalen Walker wasn't 6'1", 200, whatever, what did I say, 6'1", 243,
Yeah.
I'd be standing on the table for him, and I'd say, look, this is where you get the defensive end that's the no doubter, but he's a doubter. Like, he's not a no doubter. Like, he's going to end up on the Eagles somehow, and he's going to go to three Pro Bowls, and everyone will be like, the Eagles are going to trade up to, like, the Saints are going to trade down this is what's going to happen. The Saints are going to trade down for the first time in 17 years. The Eagles are going to trade all the way up, take Jalen Walker, and he's going to be a superstar. And everyone's going to say, why didn't you take him? But look, Jeff Ireland is still running this draft room. And we're going to find out, is it a core belief of this? Mickey Loomis is still the GM. I mean, is this a core belief of the organization that it's a big man's game? Or, now that they're running a different defense, someone like Jalen Walker fits, because otherwise he'd be the guy I would have been pushing for there. Now, look, he might go before the Saints are on the clock at 9 anyway, but it's just fascinating. It's a fascinating discussion to me that's the edge rusher in that range. And for the last 15, I don't know how many years, I've been able to cross guys like that off my board and be like, well, he's not going to the Saints, so I don't even have to consider the possibility. And I think now the door is at least open. And if they drafted him, that would be exciting and fascinating, because we'd be like, all right, they obviously have a conviction about how they're going to use this guy. And then we get to go out to OTAs and training camp and see what it looks like. Because what would it look like would be fascinating too, because it would be different.
Right. No, that's the overarching, just exciting point about this upcoming offseason, is that it's different. It's something we've never seen down here. We just get to see everything brand new, from offense, defense.
Yeah.
Phil Galliano's still here on special teams, but now he has the keys to
But
build.
the kickoff rules are different.
Yeah, he has the keys to build it out however he wants. So it's very exciting to just have a new season with just fresh blood and what I mean. Yeah, it's very exciting. Now, let's move on to our next segment, presented by Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant and Bar. Mike, you are the Twitter cap guy. You're always coming with some cap insight and knowledge. You had a couple tweets the other day about the cap, but today's question is the Saints' cap situation better or worse next year?
Yeah, so I dove into this because this was kind of one of the fascinating things about how they manage their cap. They restructured pretty much every contract they could restructure, so that pushes all the money into the future. And oh my God, Derek Carr's number next year, we've never seen anything like it. But it's kind of strange that they did that, because they're still sitting on about $27 million in cap space right now. And theoretically, if they don't spend that, they can carry that over into next year and get some extra cap room. So I figured I would go in and total everything up, everything that matters. So here's a couple more things that are going to happen. They're going to have a 9-member draft class that they have to sign this year. That's going to add to this year's cap total. That's going to add to next year's cap total, what the value of their second-year contracts are. I'm figuring in that they probably will pick up the 5th-year option on Chris Olave. I'd be really surprised if they did not do that. So I added that to next year's cap total as well. And then if you look at something like over the cap and you try to figure out their cap total next year, be careful, because there's only like 36 guys under contract for next year right now. When you're trying to figure out their cap total, you got to get to 51. So you got to add 15 more salaries to get there. So I added all of that up. And I my guess is, as of today, if they carry over that cap space into next year that they have now, that once the draft class passes, if they don't spend a lot more money, they'd be about $40 million over the cap going into next year. So we're used to that with them. Yeah, sometimes it's $100 million. Sometimes it's $1 million. But next year it'd be $40 million over the cap. When we're talking March, I'm gonna guess they still sign a few more veterans. They won't be expensive veterans. You spend a lot of money during the season when you add players as the season goes on and injuries add up. But I do also think they're still going to save money on Taysom Hill's contract this year whenever they decide. I mean, I don't know, if he's 100% going to play, if he's going to lower his salary if he does play, if everything gets moved into incentives based on games played. I think they'll still save some money there. So I think it's reasonable to think 40, 45 million over the cap heading into next year, which is obviously pretty similar to what we've seen, a little less though. But that also includes a $50 million salary for Derek Carr. And I don't think they're going to pay Derek Carr $50 million next year to be their quarterback unless he has a spectacular season this year. I didn't think they were going to pay him $40 million this year, so maybe I'm wrong about that. But frankly, if they're saving that money on Derek Carr next year, they make him a June 1st cut or something like that. They'd be pretty close to even. I mean, they did not spend a lot of money this year. And they didn't add any new giant contracts this year that are going to mortgage the future. So kind of as we've been predicting, because they don't have a lot of expensive players on the team anymore, they're a year or two away from being out of this cap hell. The negative, however, next year is it's going to be the most dead money we've ever seen from this team because there's so many guys. If Demario Davis is last year, if it's Tyrann Mathieu last year, if it's Cam Jordan's last year, if it's Derek Carr's last year with the team, I mean, right now we're looking at $70 million in dead money already. If they cut Carr, we'd be looking at over $100 million in dead money. So the salary cap is $300 million, and 1/3 of that is dead money. It is something that could unfortunately be facing this team.
In what situation? Now, this is definitely peak optimism, peak just, oh man, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid all the way. If they go out there, win the division this year, how do you even configure pushing all the chips into the table for a run?
Easily the way they've always been doing it. I mean, if they kept Derek Carr next year and restructured his contract again and restructured, Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz and, Chris Olave and like whoever else they're keeping that's expensive on the team.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden they're $50 million under the cap and they can go out and spend in free agency. So they're poised to go either direction to completely catch up. If they ever want to, which we've never seen them want to do, or to keep operating the way they've been operating. They're actually chipping away at it slowly by not having these massive contracts every year in free agency.
So, like, kind of what's the latest with the Carr thing? Because I know he was like, he hasn't been really seen since the season ended. He's kind of been out of sight, out of mind. I know there was some, we've reported it, rumblings about him not being totally happy about being asked to take, pay cuts and whatever, but kind of what's the latest on
Well, yeah, I mean, he wanted to explore the market. He was hoping maybe they would release him or let him see what's out there for him. And instead the Saints were like, nope, we're restructuring your contract. You're our quarterback. You're going to honor your contract. And surprises me a little bit, really, on both ends. It surprises me. So it's unfortunate that it looks that way, but maybe we're on some sort of a public pause until we see what the Saints do in the draft. I mean, if the Saints draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart, maybe Derek Carr comes out and demands a trade and says he's not going to show up. I'm not saying that we've heard he's going to do that. But if the Saints don't draft Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart, Derek Carr shows up for the start of the offseason program and he's the obvious quarterback.
That's the big looming thing, because even with, I don't know how mock draft one played out for you all, and I was like, all right, I could see this person that selected. I don't want to give it away, but this person that was selected waiting in the wing.
We did take a quarterback, and we probably will take a quarterback in every mock, but we did not take him in round one.
Right, waiting in the wings and then moving up. But if that situation just becomes just completely fried.
Yeah, I think anyone outside of Cam Ward, Derek Carr is still the quarterback this year. I think anyone else could take a year to develop. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think anyone outside of Cam Ward is the new starter right away. And it's all right. We're paying Derek Carr for one more year, and we've got the next guy waiting in the wings. And I mean, frankly, anyone but Cam Ward might not even be solidified as the next guy. They might be competing for Spencer Rattler still. You take the guy in the second round. I think he's almost on equal footing with Spencer Rattler, slightly ahead. I mean, that's the guy they'd want to make work. He'd be the guy drafted by this regime, obviously. But anyone you're taking 40 or later is not like, all right, our future is set. I mean, that's somebody who would still have to come in and prove it.
He's been out of sight this entire offseason, but towards the end of last season, they were even trying to get him potentially to play game. But is he even fully recovered with his hand?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, the timetable on that, I don't think that was going to be an issue.
Got you. We're going to hit a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more show.
Rouse's Markets is voted best grocery store in New Orleans, best grocery store in Baton Rouge, Mississippi, Gulf Coast, Thibodaux, Houma, Hammond, Lake Charles, Mobile. year after year. Thank you for choosing us best grocery store on the Gulf Coast. Number one. Thank you.
Thank you.
The number one grocery store.
In Mississippi, Alabama,
Louisiana. 1 million customers a week can't be wrong. Welcome to Rouse's.
The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out. NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com.
Welcome back for more NOF. It is now time for our next segment presented by Aaron Rose. Mike, we've been talking off and on about the mock draft 1.0 that you and Nick released yesterday. Yep. And in the second round, you guys took a quarterback. You'll have to read to find out which quarterback was taken.
No, see, now people listening to the show could piece it all together. We said we had a Jackson Dart conversation, but maybe we took Quinn Ewers. Nobody knows for sure.
I mean, come on, man. 2 + 2 is just gonna always equal 4. But who would be the Saints' dream scenario in round 2? I'm gonna let you kick it off.
All right. Well, look, we did run a simulation where Jackson Dart was there at 40, and so we had the conversation. I mean, do you have to do this? For the purposes of this conversation, though, let's pretend like Jackson Dart doesn't fall to 40. I mean, he's such a weird case. Yeah. He could go 10. Or he could go 60. Like, I don't really know what the league thinks of Jackson Dart. I'm assuming the league does like him and a team will take him in round 1. Maybe the Saints trade up into round 1 if they love him. But I don't think he's he fell to 40, so we're taking him kind of guy. I think someone has conviction on him, or we find out he's like Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis, and nobody actually liked him, and he just falls. So him falling to 40 seems like the least likely of the 3 scenarios. Either he falls further or he goes way higher. But if we're going to talk non-quarterbacks here, I mean, I've said it a few times. The guy that I just love, but is Ohio State receiver Emeka Buka, who's a big slot. He, went to the same school as Mike Thomas. I'm not going to make a Mike Thomas comparison, but he set Ohio State's record for catches. He's a great route runner, big, fast for his size, works out of the slot a lot. I mean, he's exactly the kind of guy that the kind of pass catcher we've been talking about. And I just keep seeing all these mocks that have him going in the 20s. I saw one that had him get all the way down to 39 recently. In our simulation yesterday, I think he went 28. So that's my dream scenario, even though it's unlikely. I would love to see the Saints end up with him. Corner, I think this could be a good spot to take a corner. Maxwell Hairston is one that's interesting. I think he was the fastest guy at the combine, if I'm not mistaken. The Saints just visited the other day with safety Nick Emanwari, who, that RAS score. Another thing we're going to have to find out: do the Saints still believe in relative athletic score as much as they always have? But he's got a perfect 10 RAS. That's pretty intriguing. And then there's a lot of offensive tackles that I keep seeing being mocked in this range. I'm a little skeptical that you get a starting left tackle or even a starting right tackle with the 40th pick in the draft. But there's 2 or 3 that I'm seeing in this range. Again, another Ohio State guy. Can't go wrong drafting Ohio State guys, and Josh Simmons, Josh Connerly of Oregon. So those guys are all in the mix for me. The one I'd love to see fall is Ibuka, though.
You bring up Mbuga and him going to Ohio State, like Michael Thomas. Quick pause right here. Whoever made that April Fool's graphic saying that the Saints are re-signing Michael Thomas.
It got you?
Not got me. Not got me. It got people texting me, "Oh man, Mike's coming back. I knew he was coming back. This is amazing." I'm like, bro, check your calendar. It's April the 1st. Relax. You know what I mean? But that round 2 pick 40 kind of range is where I would like to see a wide receiver or cornerback taken. And when I say cornerback, I mean just as a whole. If you add another safety, sure. Just I want to see that type of skill position taken there. Because I think that is kind of where you find people. You already have your game breaker in Olave, but if you could find your bigger body guy in there, if you could find somebody to add into the secondary room to kind of maybe rotate with Ike or be another addition to maybe step up and become a guy under Alante or Kool-Aid, then do that. And I think that is the prime position to take that spot.
I do like that. I agree with you on those. Like, first of all, you can't lock into a position. Never say, all right, we need a defensive end, a receiver, and a corner. Right. So that's what we're taking in rounds 1, 2, and 3. And then you're like, oh, we don't have our corner yet. We had a 6th round grade on this guy, but he's the best. Never do that. But I do agree in general that the 40th pick in the draft, I think there's really good receivers you can get there. I think there's really good corners that you can get there. I don't feel that way about defensive end and left tackle, which is why I lean more toward, man, I wish I could find a defensive end or a left tackle with the 9th pick. Because once you get to 40, I get a little more leery about those 2 positions. I do love receiver and corner at number 40. I love running back at number 42, but again, that's still a little early for running back for me. But
in my opinion, yes.
Yeah, so if I'm mapping out this will work more often than not. 1 year I go defensive end round 1, receiver round 2. The next year I go left tackle round 1, corner round 2. Those are spots of the draft where I think you can really get a lot of bang for your buck.
And a receiver, I mean, he's projected to go first round, but a receiver that even Cam Jordan has tweeted about in terms of Ted McMillan. Nick and I, we talked the other day. It was a conversation that was older, but I think some of the pieces of the conversation is kind of true about some of the younger guys coming up. What are your thoughts kind of how the NIL has changed the mind frame of the younger
guys? You guys got philosophical on Wednesday.
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good point. Hard coaching or whatever, the Bobby Knight, Bobby Knight way. I mean, shoot, we're seeing it with LSU women's basketball right now. That style of Nick Saban. I mean, I wonder if that's what ran Nick Saban out of the game. It used to be like, you're here, these are my rules, and if you don't like it, too bad. But now it's like, if you don't like it, you're going to be at Texas next year, or Notre Dame next year. Yeah. It does make things interesting to navigate in this world. There's no doubt about it. But it is also interesting in this world that something that Ted McMillan can say on a video as a freshman that comes across as harmless shows up in the middle of the draft process. I think that is a reminder to everyone that even if you want to switch schools, even if you don't want things to happen the hard way, then as soon as your job interview comes up for the NFL, then you're going to be like, oh, I should have shown how how much adversity I overcame, how hard I worked, how your judgment comes at some point. So so everybody's always watching everything you do. That's for sure.
Nah, for sure. But even in that, if the entire pool of guys are guys that think on that similar mind frame of, yeah, I've transferred twice, then what are you gonna say? Oh, we don't want guys.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of go with the talent.
Transferring isn't bad. I mean, transferring in itself isn't bad as long as you have a story behind it. But yeah,
Right.
but definitely, like Sean Payton post draft. How many draft picks did we hear Sean Payton talk about for 17 years? He loves football, means a lot to him. Like, I honestly think, even though Nick was saying you don't have to love football, the Alvin Kamara comparison is perfect. He shuts it off when he goes away.
Yeah.
Then it's got to be the second part. Means a lot to him to do well at it or whatever. He loves being good at what he does. It means a lot to him to be good at what he does. That is a huge important thing for scouts. Is you don't have to love football. You don't have to be like I watch New Mexico State play Colorado State at 11 o'clock at night because it's
The OG is not here no more, but the OG Pac-12 at night. Yeah, no.
But you do have to be like, but I care about being so good that I'm finding any edge I could find. Chase Young, I bought this machine that to add to my house. Alvin Kamara, I have a personal trainer who comes to my house for 4 hours a night every week. Like, means a lot to him, means a lot to teams.
Yeah, no, and then even AK's ability to recall stuff from like 2018 just off the top of his head because it's been practiced so many times and it's ingrained into his head. Yeah, he doesn't watch football, but it's up there. It's up there for sure.
He's so fun. I mean, go watch our Alvin video. He's the most fascinating guy I've ever covered.
Yeah.
It's such a paradox all the time. But he also couldn't get enough from learning from Drew Brees because he wanted to see the game the way Drew Brees saw the game too. So he says he doesn't love football, but he wants to understand it better than anyone's ever understood it at the same time.
Hey, man, got to be the best somehow.
Yeah.
We're going to hit another break, and then when we come back, we'll have more show. Keep it locked to NewOrleans.Football.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. If you're hungry and just want something that actually delivers on flavor, this is it. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant just dropped some new menu items, and they're legit. The Philly cheesesteak po' boy is loaded up right, and the Philly pasta brings the same flavor, but in a new way. And don't skip the fried green tomatoes. Crispy, and that crawfish sauce is no joke. Open every day, delivering late. Bobby Hebert's Cajun Cannon Restaurant. Delicious food, superior service. Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Welcome to the Queen Casino, where entertainment meets unparalleled customer service. From our days on the water to our new land experience overlooking the Mississippi River, our dedicated staff is here to ensure your visit is nothing short of exceptional. Whether you are coming or going, our well-lit parking lot and security team provide guests with red carpet treatment. Our security team keeps watch so you can focus on fun and fortune. From table to table, our attentive staff is here to serve up the ultimate experience. Join us at the Queen Casino. Your royal adventure awaits.
Welcome back for more NOF. The final segment is presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. Mike, last year, injuries, I mean, it just was the catalyst for everything that happened last year, the good, bad, the in-between. If you can guarantee a 17-game, fully healthy season for one player, who would it be?
I've got more than one. I've got more than one. We got to. You know what? I think I might have picked Chase Young for this last year. And the funny thing is, Chase Young did play all 17 games.
Yeah.
The one guy they were paying $450,000 per game because he had an injury clause in his contract is the one guy who played all 17 games. So they couldn't even save money last year with all those injuries. So I'm not going to pick Chase Young because obviously that wasn't that he was healthy for every game last year, and that didn't make the difference. Look, I'm going to start with Derek Carr because look, I know he's the most polarizing guy on the team right now, but last year they were 5-5 with Derek Carr and they were 0-7 without him or whatever it was. I mean, look, you're taking the year off and look, you can make an argument for it. I wanted them to cut Derek Carr, but I didn't want them to cut Derek Carr because I think he's a bad quarterback. I wanted them to cut Derek Carr because I wanted them to save $40 million. If you're paying the $40 million, I want him on the field. So he's the chalk number one answer, even though I will get more creative with a couple other suggestions, but I'll let you go next.
All right, next up, I'll have AK, this guy who was
interesting. I thought that would be a wild card answer for me.
No, last year, he was on pace to have his best season, and then he started the hand, the leg, then towards the end of the season, he just kind of shut it down all the way going into that last game. But yeah, I think AK is on that list. I think there are two more obvious names that I have on there.
Go ahead. We'll go.
Snake. You want to go Snake?
You get to go 2 in a row.
Next up, Olave.
Yeah.
Kamara
and Olave were two big ones for me. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Olave need to see a complete season. Need to see, I know it's out of his control. It's completely just freak incidents that happen. But he's been working to strengthen his neck, get different helmets, work out on different things to help preserve himself. And I think if he could stay healthy for an entire season, you got a shot to at least match the touchdowns that the other team is scoring.
It's funny. Those guys were both on my list. Kamara I thought was a wild card pick. But I just feel like if Kamara's playing 17 games healthy, your team's doing something good. Like good things happen when AK's on the field. I think it would be a good sign for this team. But Olave I was going to pick. Olave was going to be my non-quarterback pick just because one, I think he still has the potential to be the best, most talented player on this team. We talk all the time about how they need all pros, they need pro bowlers, and I think he can be one. I think he should be one. I think he has the talent to be one. But then also just personally, I mean, he's got the scariest injury issue, we're wondering what that's going to mean for his career. So for him to be able to get through 17 healthy games would be huge for the Saints. It'd be huge for Olave. It'd be huge for fans watching the game. So he's my number one pick for that. For my next two, look, the one we learned firsthand last year that we might not have said is Eric McCoy. I mean, as Eric McCoy went, so went the Saints. Were they like 5-0 with Eric McCoy playing a full game? It was something damn near like that. But obviously they were 2-0 before he got hurt, and they were winning games by 100 points, and they really, really struggled to replace him. Whatever offense you want to run, whatever offense you want to install, you want Eric McCoy being at the front of it. And similarly, I'm going to put Talifuaga on here because I don't know what Talifuaga is for sure, but it's time to find out. And he's another guy that I think if you're like, who has the potential to become like an all-pro, he's on a short list of guys that does. So give me a 17-game season. Show me how much development and growth from year 1 to year 2. Give me a left tackle that's in the lineup every week, and I'll give you a team that's probably pretty competitive.
Okay, so I'll go.
I got one more.
You got one more in the chamber. I got two, and I'm going to keep the one that I know for sure in the hip. Let's go with Alontae Taylor. I think if you lose him, it gets bad back there. It gets very bad back there. So I think he needs to be able to stay on the field for all 17 games because even we saw at the beginning of the last season, he can blitz if you need him to and get, what did he have, like 4 sacks at the beginning? Or he could play a coverage. So I think it's important to have your, right now, number one guy on the field at corner.
And you had one more.
I do. And I was tossing and turning on if I was going to shoot this bullet or not. But I'm going to go Rashid Shaheed.
All right, yeah.
Who hasn't had a complete season. I think he needs to, he's taking the steps to kind of keep his body preserved going into this offseason and getting stronger and stuff. But I think that needs to translate during the season also, not only just to see him have a complete season, but for the sake of the team. I mean, kick returner, flyer, wide
And
receivers. Now, granted, you have Brandon Cooks now who can come in and kind of play that same style of him and Olave, but Shaheed's speed is off the charts. So I have him up there.
My last one is Taysom Hill. I mean, he could have been the first pick.
Sure.
I have no idea what he's going to be on this offense. I have no idea what he's going to be on this team. I have no idea what he's got left coming back from the major knee injury. But if we get to see 17 games of Taysom Hill, we might be. I mean, Taysom games are different than non-Taysom games.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I'm really fascinated to see what another new coaching staff thinks of him and what kind of plans they have for him.
Yeah, and then I mean, look, that's the end of the for sure list. But we only said one defensive name. We've seen last season how a Friday practice can change the whole entire trajectory. So it pretty much everybody but DeMario, P. Warner, Cam. I guess he's not that impactful now. He's still that guy, but yeah, throw him on the list. Just you need healthy bodies on the list before you have to get at the bottom of the barrel, and then you become what you were last year, which you don't want to be.
No question.
That'll do it for this edition of NewOrleans.Football. We appreciate you all for joining us for today's show. It's the end of the week, 1 week closer to the draft. Make sure you keep it locked to NOF. Catch you next time.